Since we're talking about World War One, we're gonna do a little bit of film analysis. Just a quick preview. Try not to spoil it too much. But before you even watch this, if you have not seen 1917, you need to go watch it. We're all sitting at home doing pretty much nothing, so go watch this before you do this, if you have the ability to. If not, feel free to join us, and you'll get a little bit of insight about the movie. You still have to watch it. Regardless of a couple spoilers in this, you have to watch it. So the film 1917, it provides a dark and realistic insight into the experiences of soldiers during World War One. So the movie really shows the everyday life of what it was like to be entrenched. You know, you're living among the rats, you're living among starvation, a lack of food and provisions, feces, dead bodies, all the diseases going on. And the trenches in the movie are presented as a terrible place to live. And the men are being forced to live essentially on top of each other. But in the movie, the life of a soldier is shown to be inactive and essentially boring while waiting for the next battle, which is true. It's a stalemate. Trench warfare was a stalemate. The movie also goes in to show a lot of violence. So one of the examples is, as Schofield does not make it in time for the first wave, we see the battle commence. So this is towards the end of the movie where the trench is empty and they're running towards each other out in this giant field of no man's land. Full speed, mortar fire everywhere, gunfire everywhere, and they're just sprinting. And Schofield, one of that main characters, is running across them. So he's not running with them towards the Germans, he's running across them in the field. And of course, he's getting bumped over and getting knocked down, having to get back up, and he's running. And so it depicted a fast, chaotic, and fatal battle, like it was. Schofield runs in a different direction than the other soldiers, which means he often falls over, but always gets back up. This is an incredible scene from the film, which visually and atmospherically transports us to the scene of the battle in World War One. One of the scenes that really captures the gruesome reality of war is towards the beginning. So Schofield and Blake are friends, and Schofield is going with Blake to help find Blake's brother. Okay, so in the scene, they get across no man's land and they're moving. The Germans have fallen back, and they're trying to figure out where his brother's at behind enemy lines and stuck. And what happens is they get to this little farm. Then all of a sudden, a plane gets shot down. So they're looking and looking. They're trying to identify the plane. Next thing you know, it crashes into the barn of the location that they're at. So once it crashed, they realized that it was a German plane. But Blake, having a heart on him, he was quick, ran over there and tried to help the pilot. He drags the pilot out, brings him over, this, that, and the other, and then the next thing you know, the pilot stabs him. And Schofield shoots the pilot. So Blake saved the pilot from a burning plane for the pilot just to stab him. And Blake died as a result of this. At the very beginning of the film. The film 1917, it does not shy away from depicting the gruesome reality of warfare. And that's a prime example. The film is really large, is mostly dark and grisly. There are some moments of redemption and humanity. Blake going to get that guy out of the plane is an example of humanity. But then it goes straight back to the dark and grisly warfare attitude. One example is the allusion to the cherry tree Blake has at home, which becomes a recurring motive in the film. So Blake, the person that dies after saving the pilot, has cherry trees at home, and he mentions that to Schofield. So once Blake dies and Schofield goes about his mission, the constant blooming of cherry trees is around him. whether it be the leaves in the water, whether it be, you know, an I don't know if you would, I guess you would call it an orchard, perhaps, a cherry tree orchard. So they were everywhere. But there are also a few poignant acts of kindness that shine through the darkness. For example, Blake tries to save the German pilot, later in the movie, Schofield is in this mortared to death town. You know, nothing is there. Nothing. Except German patrols. Okay? So he gets over there, and he ends up defeating a sniper in a watchtower. So once he takes out that sniper, he kind of has the ability to, you know, maneuver in the shadows to try to figure out what the layout of the town is. That way that he can try to figure out a way to get through it without being seen. So what happens is he stumbles across this mom and her baby, and they're living essentially underground. And Schofield he filled his canteen up previously at the barn where Blake died with milk that was left there. There's no telling how long that milk was there. But Schofield, being generous and kind-hearted, gave the last of his milk in his canteen to the mom to feed the baby. And, you know, we see examples and hear examples of acts of kindness like that in war all the time. Even today, you know, our soldiers that are in the Middle East, they give those kids candy all the time. Those general acts of kindness, for some reason, they're always in war. War is the most demonic, dark, grisly, petrifying, gruesome thing you could ever imagine, especially during World War I and II. Yet there's these small little acts of kindness. How? We know that the German and the Allied forces actually celebrated Christmas in no man's land. I can't think of the location of it right now. But, you know, I'll go ahead and look it up. Yeah, the Christmas truce of 1914, yeah. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't in a particular place. But, I mean, essentially, the Germans and the Allied forces met and they drank, smoked, and had some form of food, I would be certain of, canned ham or something, I guess. And, you know, there was a day where essentially no bullets, no mortars, no gas, nothing was fired. And then, of course, as we can imagine, the next day, it was back to regular fighting. So, but stuff like that, those general acts of kindness, they really set apart what the overall scope of war really is. It's very, very fascinating. So, but that's a little quick study of the film 1917 to let you get a better understanding of the film itself and as well as World War I as depicted by the movie. I've seen a lot of war movies, and, you know, 1917's not, I mean, it's action-packed, but it's not like Saving Private Ryan or nothing like that. It's really about a man on a mission, and it's almost like you get PTSD watching it. It puts you in the boots. That's what's so crazy about it. You know, you get to see everything that you don't want to see. But from a historical context, I would say the film is above 85% correct. Which for an historic film movie is very good, because it is very hard to recreate history. So, alright, well, that concludes this. If you need me, holler at me. Hope everybody's doing good, and enjoy your weekend. Remember, go watch this movie, 1917, especially during this unit. You'll really enjoy it.